Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Noel. This is a final prediction video for the main event taking place this Saturday between 7-0 undefeated Pat McCormack and Miguel Parra, the Mexican, the punching Mexican. We're going to call him Noel. Good to be joined by you. Busy start to the month, isn't it? I know you're in Dublin on the Friday night. Matchroom are in Sunderland on the Saturday night, and then we've got a monster weekend the following weekend after, which I'm hoping most people watching this video are aware of. No mucking about as usual, Noel. Pat McCormack, the strong favourite here, but I'll hand over to you. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I am going for Pat McCormack. I think he will get it done here. I just think he's too well skilled and too too technically sharp for Miguel Parra. So he should get it done. I'm gonna go with a points win. I was kind of undecided between a late stoppage or a points win, but I'll go for a points win. But as we were just kind of touching on there off camera, Matchroom and Eddie Hearn must have nightmares when they see an unknown Mexican puncher coming over to face an unbeaten prospect. We've seen it go off the rails for them in that regard in the past. So, we might have success early. Parry, he could catch McCormack cold. Who knows? He'll be coming to win. As I say, we've seen it before, and just kind of looking, I wouldn't be overly familiar with him as a fighter, but looking at his kind of losses, if most of his losses are decisions, and he lost a split decision to Shakram Gyasov, which, there's no shame in that, to be honest. So he is capable, but I just think Pat McCormack will be a level or two above him for me.
Yeah, look, I think on when like reviewing Parra's resume, I remember when he fought Florian Marku in Albania. Dropped Florian Marku, and a lot of people thought that he was unfortunate to lose that fight, which was unanimous decision. I think that for Pat McCormack, this is his eighth fight. I think that's important to remember. He's main eventing in his eighth fight, and going up against a big step up from Robbie Davis Jr., I would say, in his last fight, and also not been that was February that fight. So he's not been kind of, I wouldn't say he's been too active. Made his debut 3.5 years ago, so he's not been the most active, but he is. Look, I think he's one of our best hopes. So when I say I mean British people, definitely not you know, but for Brits, he's one of the biggest hopes for someone who could win a world title in the next 3 or 4 years. I really do believe that. And one thing I like about Pat McCormack is he's 30. He's not a young fighter anymore. So you'd think there's not going to be any mucking around over the next couple of years. He's not kind of got too much time to burn. So I'll agree with you. But I'm actually going to go for a late stoppage here, and I'll go for a stoppage. Round 7 to 9 towards the end of the fight. I'm big on the Pat McCormack hype train, and that's a step up in class here, and it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. It's maybe not the most appealing kind of card of the year, maybe not the most competitive card of the year, but I do think this main event's worth tuning in for. So we will see what happens. One thing I want to ask, a couple of things I want to ask for you now. One is, do you agree with me about him being a big hope for winning a world title? Can you see that happening? Do you think he's maybe I'm overhyping him a bit much? Give us your thoughts on that, please.
No, I think you've got it pretty spot on. I am a big Pat McCormack fan myself, and kind of the British world level scene is in a bit of a drought at the minute. There isn't many world champions. There's only one world champion, but Pat McCormack, yeah, he has the talent to do it. He really does. The only problems is what you touched on. Inactivity has been a problem, and as you say, his age. He's not young. He's banging his prime now, so there is no more real time to kind of mess about. So hopefully it's the start of a busier period for Pat McCormack. But yeah, I absolutely think he can win a world title. I think he's supremely talented. He has that amateur skill and he can punch. He's not a massive puncher, but he can whack, it seems. So yeah, I think he is a hope for the future. as I say, when I say when I say the future, the fairly imminent future, it's gonna have to be. But yeah, especially in a welterweight division it's not massively strong outside the top kind of two or three. You've got Jerron Ennis now has moved up, and there is still very talented fighters there. Devin Haney, Brian Norman Jr. But underneath that, I think Pat McCormack could definitely cause a few problems. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I think no, look, fingers crossed. I think it's going to be if he does win on Saturday, it's going to be interesting what route he goes down. I've noticed in the he's ranked eighth with the WBA, maybe a bit high for my liking considering kind of the amount of fights he's had, but he is ranked eighth. Miguel Parra is ranked 12th. So it's winning this fight, he's not too far away from a world title, which is crazy to think. I think it's just a case of would they be willing to fight for a world title in the next 12 months, or is it just a case of building? But yeah, we'll see. It's an interesting time. Other fighters in that top 15 as well. Stanionis, former world champion, of course. Jack Catterall, Echo Esman, some other Brits as well. So yeah, we will see what happens. Be us to get past Miguel Parra first. Final question from me to you now. Um, I think there was some kind of, I don't want to say rumours, but there was some talk about Pat McCormack for possibly facing the British champion, Conor Walker, in his next fight. Conor Walker, who we've known has given us some fantastic, entertaining nights the last couple of years. Thoughts on that fight in terms of whether it would be another step up from Miguel Parra, whether it's this kind of the same sort of level. Just kind of yeah, if I get you kind of insight into that fight and whether you see that fight happening.
I think it's a great fight. That's the one for me that if he is to get past Parra, I think the Conor Walker fight for the British title is the one that I think makes sense. I think it would be a step up, be a great domestic clash. And I think it will happen, to be honest with you. I don't see any reason why it can't. Conor Walker has been on a great kind of, well, he's been on a good run. He's had momentum recently, and yeah, I think it'll be very exciting. I think it'll be really entertaining while it lasts. But yeah, I just think Pat McCormack could be too well skilled and maybe a level above Conor Walker, but Walker will give him a lot to think about in that one. So yeah, I think that is the number one fight for me. If he is to get through this weekend. Another name that you mentioned there that I was also thinking of is Echo Esman. I think the Echo Esman fight would be very be a very entertaining one. A lot of domestic interest in that one. Esman coming off the Taylor win, so he's riding high. And then, yeah, I'd like to see him in these type of fights before he kind of pushes on to the likes of a Stanionis or towards a world title fight. I think they're the perfect kind of steps before he reaches that level for me.
Yeah, no, brilliant. We'll see. I think the Conor Walker fight's a great fight. I think it depends how much priority is the British title to him. To some fighters, it's kind of a must, and some fighters they're not as fussed about it. And maybe it just depends what opportunities are there. But we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens now. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your final prediction, and I will speak to you again very, very soon.
Cheers, take care.